We are up to our last session and it's a panel again of 3 speakers and it's the Farms Insight panel. As part of this session, they're going to provide an overview of their farming enterprise and how they are engaging with natural capital in their business models. And I'm hoping there'll be very different scenarios here. We won't know until we hear them all. But we're going to do a bit of speed dating, starting off with a 5-minute overview of what their business farming enterprise is, and then we'll go into question mode. So I'm going to welcome Clare from, I've got to pronounce this, Maher station, north of Albury. And I'm just going to share some fun facts because we're at the stage of the day where we need a bit of fun. She is a mad cricket fan, but she corrected me that, didn't you, Clare? A mad watcher of cricket. She sat on the committee of the Melbourne Cricket Club. This is how serious she is, and taken girls' cricket tours around the world. So welcome, Clare.
Farming too.
Yes. Got to have some fun.
Thank you. I'm from Womargama Station, which is 6,500 acres, 50 kilometres north of Albury, probably about 15, 20 kilometres away from the Murray River with the Womargama National Park in between. So Womargama is 1/3 grassy box woodland, 1/3 fertile flats, and 1/3 rolling country with rocky outcrops. My family bought the farm in 1965. It was originally 25,000 acres. We bought 2,500 acres and have added onto it. During that time, in partnership with Landcare, we have planted 100,000 trees and we've fenced off 3.5 kilometres of river or creek country. ANU Sustainable Farms always says when you introduce your farm, you should always talk about how many bird species you have on your farm. So between Jim's researchers at La Trobe, their farm scale natural capital, ANU Sustainable Farms and Birds on Farms that come and do bird counts 4 times a year on the property, we have found 113 species, 10 of which are threatened or critically endangered. And a number of those woodland species that Jim put up on his slide are on the property. So we produce Never Ever grass-fed beef, the Greenham brand, Pole Herefords. I would argue that that grass-fed only beef is not greenwashing. It is a high animal welfare product, and it allows animals to, as part of their 5 animal freedoms, to show normal behavioural activities during their time. There's quite a bit of research going on out there as well about higher levels of omega-3s in grass-fed only beef. So that accreditation, I am a junkie of accreditation. So all the products we produce are accredited, and that's how we, so probably if you like, measure value and natural capital. We also have merino sheep, and they're accredited with ZQ Merino, and that is non-mulesed, high animal welfare, high sustainability. So this is quite a strenuous accreditation. We produce to contract, so our sweet spot is 18.5 microns, and this is whole supply chain. So our wool goes directly to Icebreaker, North Face, Helly Hansen, Stella McCartney, and about 30 partner organisations. No modern day slavery, and it's actually and then we're actually the highest level of accreditation, so we're ZQRX. So both the Greenhams Never Ever and the ZQ Merino is outside audited, so you have a stringent audit every 3 years and a sort of spot visit annually. And the ZQRX is a wagon wheel which includes biodiversity, scientific research, waste, waterways, well-being and community engagement. And the final third of the property is critically endangered grassy box woodland, which is, I've got under covenant with the Biodiversity Conservation Trust, which is a New South Wales government body. And again, we are audited every 3 years and manage the property, manage this country. We can graze it 6 months of the year between March and September, and then March we have to leave it for the grasses to seed. So that's sort of instead of cultural burning, which Julian was talking about before. Do you want me to sit?
Right. Now, from cricket, from cricket, we're going to golf. He's already got his cue. We have Graeme Maher from Marloo in the southern Wimmera, and he tells me every farmer has to have a happy place. So his is when he turns the phone off and he's on the golf course. So welcome, Graeme.
Let's see how this goes. I feel a bit like a thorn between two roses coming up here, but anyway, bear with me. We'll see how we go. Hold it, I thought I had this up, but anyway. Gone to sleep. Oh, this is annoying.
5 minutes is right.
Yes, I know it is. I'll bluff my way through it if it doesn't work this time. All right, I'll bluff my way through it. The farm's Marloo. I'm a fifth generation farmer. Lubeck, Dadsel's Bridge, not far from the Big Koala, and down south, Mount Dryden. I've the displeasure of having two sons join me on the farm after going away, and it's an interesting exercise. I'm here today because they're home crutching sheep. They're not particularly happy. So, Lubeck, that's basically the edge of the cropping country. Anything north of that is just wall-to-wall crop. They don't know what sheep are. Maggot taxis, I think, is the term they use. We still run 2,500 pole merinos, our self-replacing merino flock, and do most of our cropping on that one. Second one's Dadsel's Bridge. We started heading south for 2002. We started buying south. All the cropping country got expensive. And I'm a cheapskate. There was no way I was going to go and tangle with those guys. So I went down to the rundown grazing country down further south, and we started buying down that. It was cheaper, had challenges, too wet, soil type, the whole lot. But we then had to make it work. And the last property is my happy place, let's call it. So it's Mount Dryden. We bought ourselves a mountain. Not every time you get a chance to do that. Quick story to it is I promised my wife if it ever come up for sale I'd try and buy it. Anyway, I did. And we've since recently bought the property next door. So we own a little bit of parcel of land between Lake Lonsdale and the Grampians. And it's, yeah, very happy with that spot. That's a sheep. So we said, how can we make more money? So we've got to really push our sheep hard. And it was interesting. I'm not doing this for accreditation or anything like that. I'm a selfish person. I'm in it for the money and how to make this work. So we said, right, how can we get our sheep to perform to the maximum of their potential? So we're about 5,500 lambing ewes plus replacements, marking 7,500, 8,000 lambs. So we're pushing them really hard and making things work. We incorporate everything into the soil, get the soil going as well as possible. This is the last block we bought, and by saying rundown block, that looks like a whole heap of grass. I can tell you that was the best stand of brome grass and silvergrass I have ever seen in my entire life. 2 litres of Roundup over it to try and get rid of that, and then I got the best crop of radish I've ever come across. So it looked really good, it got a lot going for it, but when you break down, it had its challenges. But that's what we want to get to. So we go from using cropping and pasture manipulation to take a lot of the weeds out, and then we sow a pasture mix mixed up with what goes on. And we're up to about 10 to 12 different pasture species: tillage radish, plantain, chicory, lucerne, four clovers, three grasses, veld grass, no, we don't have phalaris, fescue, cocksfoot. Trying to get our lambs up. So that's what we get to. Once we get that pasture cooking, as we call it, the clue to us is we got to grow it, feed it off as quick as possible. So grow more grass, eat more grass, you grow more grass. It's a sort of, and with that, funny as it may seem, you sort of get biodiversity. Nature sorts itself out. We don't try and sow this really good mix coming up, but it just sort of sorts itself out. And the veld grass will grow on the sands, and the chicory will grow in the middle, and the lucerne on the top, and the lucerne won't grow on the flats. Nature sorts itself out. And then we worked out if we put enough sheep on in a hurry, we can get the weeds under control, and it becomes an interesting exercise that creates its own issues. Compost, we've gone away from traditional fertilisers wherever possible, trying to add more diversity and all that. And we've got up to, and that's what we aim to get to from our rundown, awful country, growing 2.5, 3 tonnes of canola. And from that, we get up there, we fence off our areas, like has been discussed, up on the mountain, so that's Mount Dryden in the background. This is a really interesting one. I asked the question about the fires. The one on the left and the one on the right are exactly the same paddock. The one on the left was burnt bare on February the 13th. And it's had 40 mils on it since. And that's what we've got now, and that's what was without it. Now, I'm just saying, it's interesting if you get your pasture mixes right, you have strange benefits that come along. Going from bare earth after fire to that, we're pretty happy with that. And that's why we go farming. I can't, Jim's been up there, we've got a little spot up on the ledge that we think is just a special spot in the world. And I said, and you couldn't put me in the corporate tower for love nor money. Thank you.
Well done. And our third panel speaker is Sarah Whinney. She comes from Chatsworth House Pastoral near Hamilton. The mother of 3 children, enjoys her happy place is horse riding and bushwalking. I'm not sure how you get time for that. And before she returned to farming, she got herself a Bachelor of Agriculture Science and a Bachelor of Commerce. So you're backing science up with farming with science. Okay. Welcome, Sarah.
So this is us here at Chatsworth House. I've just got the one slide, but I just thought I'd give you a bit of a background on who we are and what we're doing. So, along with my husband Tom and 3 children up in the corner, we own and run Chatsworth House, which, as you said, is near Hamilton in Western Victoria. We only moved here in early 2020. For the first 10 years of our marriage, we lived on a property called Mount Hamilton, about 45 minutes from where we are now. It was about 50% conventional dryland cropping and 50% livestock, sheep and beef. But yeah, as I said, we moved to Chatsworth House in 2020 after an opportunity arose to sell where we were and buy what we now call home, and we love it there. It's Chatsworth House is 2,400 hectares of rolling hills on the Dundas tablelands, with the Hopkins River and various other creeks running through it. In addition, we also have 300 hectares in a high rainfall zone just south of Hamilton, near a little town called Viaduct. So since moving to Chatsworth House, we're now a 100% livestock business with both sheep and cattle still. We have about 10,000 composite ewes, and 250 Angus breeders. And then between the two properties, we trade up to around 800 head of cattle throughout the year, depending on the season. We run these properties based on what you could say are regenerative ag principles. And for us, in brief terms, that means a focus on soil health, on grazing management, on looking after our people, and I think everything we do is really about building natural capital. So I guess that's why we're here today. And on the side too, I should also mention, we also have a event venue that we run on the farm, so just to keep life interesting. But I think where I wanted to take my little spiel before I sit down over there was just about why we do what we do. So it's taking a little bit of a different path, but I think just to put in context to how we got to where we are now, if I take you back about 10 years, when after the birth of our second child, a friend pointed out to me how addicted to sugar I was. And I know this might seem totally unrelated, however, it quickly sent me on a journey, a gut health journey, and got me thinking about my responsibility as a mother and how I could feed our growing family in a way that would set them up for life to be healthy, happy, little and big people in the future. And I don't think this story is unique to just us. This is, becoming more and more common. Simultaneously, I'd also started to think seriously about our soils and how we could best look after them for generations to come. As we've heard today, this is an asset that underpins our whole business. So I was doing lots of research into soil health and the biology that lives in our soils when one day I realised that soil health and gut health were actually really similar and eerily interlinked. And so, in short, to feed our family in a way that would improve their health, I needed to feed them products that were produced from healthy soil, meaning both plants and also meat from animals grazing on plants grown in healthy soil. And so I guess from there we started to question, was our current farming system doing all of this? And in short, I guess the answer was no. Particularly in the conventional cropping system, there was more and more chemicals being used. We were using, quite a reasonable amount of synthetic fertiliser and other bits and pieces. And so after a lot of learning, we started to learn ways that we could change the way that we were farming so that we could improve the health of our soil and produce nutrient-dense products that would be healthier for our consumers and that we could be proud of. So we started trying a few small things, talking to lots of people, reading books and doing endless research. And in time we realised that for us to farm this way, we wanted to focus on the livestock side of our business, which, really had always been our passion. I guess we were croppers for a while because, a lot of country around us is cropping country. But we really just wanted to focus on the livestock side and felt that's where we could really do our best work. So that brings us back to why we bought this property. It's really more of a livestock property and we decided it would be a great fit for us, and it allowed us to consolidate 3 separate blocks into one block. Except we've now bought a second, but it's it's a great place to live and work and raise children and all of that, and horse ride. We just felt it would allow us to focus on farming in a way that was aligned with our values, which I think we heard about earlier, and produce products that we could be proud of and allow us to help regenerate the land that we are custodians of at the same time. And so we worked together and came up with our vision, which you can sort of see up here, which is bringing together people, plants and animals for a better future. And we feel like this really highlights our understanding of the interconnectedness between everything and how if we all work together in a way that improves our natural capital, we'll be all the better for it. And allow us to help contribute towards helping create a better future for us all, regardless of all the acronyms and terms we've heard today. That's just sort of how we feel will work best for us. And so we do also just really enjoy farming in a way that is aligned with our values. And whilst we know we don't always get it right, we're committed to trying and to lifelong learning and are proud of the people involved in our business. We've got a great team. We're just working hard to improve our natural capital.